My name is Sami Kazi, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar on RAAS, which stands for Rethinking Autonomy and Safety. RAAS is one of the premier innovation ecosystems within Finland, Finland being a country of lots of experimentations and ecosystems, where there's lots of collaboration between industry and academia, and of course research organizations like VTT, which some of us represent. It's my pleasure to have some wonderful speakers with me today, so allow me to introduce them to you. We have Hannu Karvonen from VTT, we have Antti Saurama from the Turku School of Economics, and last but not least, of course, we have Ruotsalainen from the University of Helsinki. So they will be guiding you through the presentations, where we will be looking at, what RAAS is really about, what are some business models, some key technologies, research avenues, and how you could also join this wonderful innovation ecosystem. But to start off with, let me pass it over to Hannu. So Hannu, please tell us more about RAAS, what really RAAS is.
Yeah, thank you, Sami. So welcome on my behalf as well to this webinar. Basically, RAAS is an innovation ecosystem that I'm coordinating currently, and we have about 200 researchers involved here in Finland, and I will tell you the details a bit more later. And first, about the motivation, here are some points regarding that. So it's evident that different levels of automated systems are being developed at an increasing pace, for example, in land, sea, and air operations. So here's just a few examples of different environments where these autonomous systems are currently developed and what the related services may enable them. So as you see, for example, in urban transport, this kind of quick door-to-door mobility chains will increase. Then in interurban transport, we see safe and fluent traffic with autonomous highway and rail solutions becoming a reality gradually. Then in rural transport, for example, automated and combined people and goods transport service solutions are becoming utilized more and more. Then if we look at the maritime and port operations side, we will have there ever more efficient logistics chains enabled by these autonomous operations. And of course, highly automated mobile work machinery is also enabling, for example, sustainable productivity. And finally, different unmanned air, space, and land systems will allow these novel solutions for efficient asset logistics and safety and security management, for example, with drones. Then, considering those trends and opportunities, what is this RAAS actually all about? So it can be defined to be an interdisciplinary innovation ecosystem for autonomous systems research and development. And our aim is to help companies in their innovation activities and, for example, related to autonomous systems R&D on different autonomy levels. And in this RAAS, we actually have this multi-domain approach where we look at particularly application domains such as marine and transport operations in the port sector, land transport, mobile work machinery, and also the drone sector. And research team-wise, we also have this different kind of ethical, legal, and business and operational and technical teams that we have defined. And maybe you have noticed from the agenda of this webinar that we are highlighting some of these key areas also in this webinar related to autonomous systems, like the business transformation or the operational design and the situational awareness and intelligent control. And you can find more information about this RAAS and the task forces through our website at autonomous.fi. Then here's some basic facts about RAAS. So the ecosystem is partly funded by TEM, the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment of Finland, and especially now in its first phase, which have started at 2018 and continuing until 2020 fall. And our vision is to provide a one-stop shop access to all stakeholders to top research and development in autonomous systems after this STEM-funded period especially. And our mission is then to solve these systemic and holistic challenges related to autonomous systems to benefit companies, the organizations, and also the society at large as well. And in addition, we have this national aim, the securing of the availability of skilled professionals here in Finland. I will discuss that a bit more in detail later. And there on the right, you can see some of the key numbers about RAAS, but I will not actually go into details of those right now, but you can see them for yourself there, just to get an idea that how many researchers we are and so on. Then here you can see actually our current offering for companies and different other organizations. So we can provide something what we call roundtable sessions. They are sort of like a one-day think tank aimed at different types of organizations on tackling their development challenges related to autonomous systems. And we have actually also something what we call a project accelerator service, which is a relatively short-term effort to define the basic concept and consortia for an R&D project entity. And you can see from the process picture over there how it works. So we have different kind of initiatives, then the research task forces will handle those, and we accelerate the project ideas, the project consortium, the whole project concept. That's done inside RAAS with the funding, and then afterwards we continue business as usual to the project plan and applications. So this can be, for example, EU projects or Business Finland projects or so on. And actually, in addition to this kind of project accelerator, we do also have different kind of road mapping and white paper and more like research-oriented activities ongoing, but also, of course, the organizations that want to be partners in RAAS, the companies as well, can contribute to this also. And then finally, we also have this kind of innovation challenges. They are basically a bit different than your usual hackathon type of competition. So this will not happen like over a weekend as typically hackathons happen, but instead they are a bit longer lasting ones. And naturally, these challenges will also involve startups, and we will have also researcher teams involved in those. And some more activities that we are now running. So one big concern from the funding organization, the ministry, has been securing the availability of these skilled professionals of autonomous systems in the upcoming years. So therefore, we are building, for example, this doctoral school for industrial innovations in autonomous systems with a special role for each university. And additionally, related to this, we have recognized the need for this re-education of adults and increasing these lifelong learning opportunities, which are relevant, for example, from the universities of applied sciences. So we are working on an education program related to those as well. Then we also plan to offer the involved organization a opportunity to build strong links to these business relevant test beds. So these can be owned, for example, by the companies, the ecosystems, or even cities and research institutes as well. And the networking and the data sharing between these test beds is really crucial, and this is something that we want to advance in the future. Then the involved organizations can also get visibility in different kind of events we have planned. So high profile seminars and different kind of workshops that we are currently planning to have. And in addition, we can also keep the companies up to date with, for example, newsletters and other kind of possibilities for this kind of cross-domain benchmarking between these different verticals that I mentioned. Then finally, especially in the universities, the RAAS companies can also get, for example, recruitment possibilities, get some coursework done, have education and training possibilities, especially from the involved universities. So this is a really big opportunity as well. Then just briefly about the impact that we have had so far. So there's 2 points here. The first one is that we have initiated and supported the development of this export-driven growth ecosystems related to autonomous mobility especially. You can see the list there. So first of all, these include, for example, the urban rail mobility ecosystem or smart rail ecosystem, and we have supported the growth of that one. And now we have also initiated quite large ecosystem projects like the smart forestry. For the forestry industry, we have developed a vision and initiated the first Business Finland project related to that. Then we are building also the Finnish drone accelerator ecosystem and first co-innovation project related to that as well. And then we are creating a consortium for autonomy-driven systemic change in ports and in the whole logistics chain ecosystem. So this is actually called SystEco, this project preparation. And if you're actually interested in any of these, please be in contact to me or the other ones who are involved. We will show them a bit later. Second, we have this, what I mentioned, this securing of these skilled autonomy experts with coordinated nationwide education programs. And just as an example, we have the doctoral school now building up. And as I mentioned, these are the big business ecosystem preparations that we have ongoing. So these are here on a bit more detailed level. So regarding drone side, we have this national drone accelerator ecosystem where we are planning to pilot different kind of drone concepts and business models related to drones and sort of like work as an umbrella for the national drone activities. Secondly, there's the large smart forestry ecosystem, which is focusing more on data, automation, and situational awareness in the forestry industry. And if you're interested in this one, you need to act quick because we are soon sending the proposals to Business Finland. And then finally, the SystEco, as I mentioned, it's related to autonomy-driven systemic change in port and logistics ecosystems. And just drop me an email if you are interested in joining these. And these are definitely going to be big ones in the future. So finally, here's also my other contact info. So more information is available at autonomous.fi, as I mentioned, and you can also send me an email or call me anytime you want if you're interested in joining RAAS or have some comments or questions about what we're doing. So that's it on my behalf.
Hannu, let me get started with you at least. One thing, it's very impressive, of course, to see RAAS, how that being an ecosystem has led to, these potential sub-ecosystems, which you were just talking about. Right. But I'd like to ask you a question. How did RAAS really get started? I mean, what was the triggering point, like why RAAS?
Yeah. Well, actually, it got started something like 3 years ago, yeah. So this was a time when some maritime company representatives came from different companies to ask VTT, Tampere University, Aalto University, that couldn't this research side sort of be in one stop shop, sort of provide the best talent through this kind of similar ecosystems that we have in the business side as well. So that's when we decided to meet and start building this RAAS. And it was actually clear from the beginning that we don't do this only for the maritime industry. So we look at the different domains that have this increasing autonomy level, because there's so many, I would say, similar technologies that these different domains are using, and that's why we have this multi-domain approach in this RAAS currently.
And let me ask you another question. I know, many people keep on asking, on different fora that in a country like Finland, well, we're small, of course, we have a limited number of companies. Some of them are competitors of each other. And yet, they come to work together within these innovation ecosystems.
Right.
And they're very actively supporting, let's say, even like, you were talking about the development of the doctoral school. Amazing.
Yeah.
So how does that happen?
Yeah, it was actually surprising to see all these universities and universities of applied sciences to come together and sort of understand that it's a national aim to have this kind of ecosystem to make our competence better, to advance the Finnish businesses, also to support Finland on a societal level to adapt these new technologies. And I would say that it's been really amazing to notice that how all the different organizations have come together and work together to make this happen.
One last question before we move on. In the initial slides, you were showing that we have, about, I think it's 50 plus companies, and we have many research organizations, but there was also this element that we have 10 international partners involved.
Right.
And of course, you were inviting people to this Business Finland preparation or get in touch. So
exactly.
I'm sure many would want to know that, if I'm an international company,
right,
or let's say a research institute or a university, which is not based in Finland, how can I get on board, RAAS?
Yeah, so we have an increasing amount of international partners, and currently there's mostly universities, but also a few companies with their own research department involved. And of course, it's easy to do, for example, EU projects together with these partners, but we do have quite a lot of different kind of international activities with these partners as well, in addition to the project preparations and so on. So if you are interested, you can be in touch with me. So just contact me by email, for example, and I will send you more information about the collaboration opportunities that we have for these international partners.
Thank you, Hannu. Let's move forward now to Antti. So Antti, you will be telling us more about business transformation and how that's enabled by these autonomous systems. So the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Hannu, for passing this over for me. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Antti Saurama from Turku School of Economics. I'm operating in the RAAS context in the business research task force, one of the task groups inside RAAS. We have some tens of business-oriented researchers operating in this field, and that's why maybe opening up also the business side and business aspects of these autonomous systems and what avenues this whole transformation will open up for different stakeholders in the industry. Generally speaking, we can already see at this point that the whole business transformation actually via autonomous systems will be very fundamental thing. So we are not talking about any small incremental changes in business or society, but we are talking about something that actually will impact a lot in different levels. And in here, of course, this is very technology-oriented change we are talking about, but we will see actually quite big impacts in all levels of transformation, from operations and processes to organizational level, of course, networks and systems, and ultimately also to the society level, for example, in terms of city logistics or public transportation. That is all part of this bigger picture. So big changes, and all this has, of course, impact to the business side of the autonomous system development as well. Where we are now concerning the autonomous system development, in a let's say, in big picture. Some might say that this is a bit unfair question because we have different application areas, different domains that actually have developed in bit different paces. Car industry, for example, airline industry has developed already in regards to the autonomous systems or subsystems, but now we see more and more this coming to, for example, public transportation or drone operations, etc. But to put it this way, that we are talking about here social technical transition, actually that is creating some kind of new landscape of normal. So this is not a niche thing anymore, but we are business-wise talking about actually quite something that is normalized to the operations in different level as well. So it is here now already. Traditionally, autonomous system development has been progressed clearly by technology push rather than market pull. So there are huge amount of companies, researchers working the technology side and what it could do, rather than markets craving for new applications, new solutions, or single persons looking for different accurate solutions. So this has been sort of key characteristic of this system development so far. Originally, we have had a very large group of different niche technologies there, and so far we haven't come to the development phase where we would say that there are typical dominant designs in this business. But of course, in the pipeline of technology development, it ultimately probably goes towards dominant designs, but still this is business-wise also open field for new applications, for competition as well, because dominant designs may be not dominating at this point. Also, I would like to say that the public acceptance, I refer here to the private persons, and also maybe to the authorities and regulators here are now also getting or signaling more acceptance towards this development as it has become more, maybe not daily activity of businesses and private persons and nations, but more and more towards normalized, and people understand that it actually covers a lot what we consider in the business or private lives actually very often. Whereas the technology often said that yes, basically we have the key technology parts already there, although nothing is actually quite finished or ready yet, but still what is sometimes said that this business viability actually needs more focus together with the technology aspects, and this is actually quite true. There are actually very many big technological advances witnessed in previous years, but still the full, let's say, the full scale of business activity still lacks some kind of, or in many cases, business concepts out of those technology developments, and this is also partly the reason why we in Business Task Force also try to make these solutions more applicable to the market. Yeah, I said earlier that this changed business in many ways, and here are a couple of examples collected from different levels, but one could say that business is changing from top to bottom at least, and in between as well. So we will see in the society or national economy or global business level new values and social needs generating out of the whole development. Of course, new regulation coming. We have lots of new players also entering the market, since this seems to be very appealing for many of the companies. Yeah, in the middle, of course, we will see a disrupted processes, disrupted businesses, disrupted companies also in this transformation journey. We will see company boundaries changing as new types of functions are introduced in the operations that maybe are taken care in the future by different suppliers rather than the original company, these type of examples. And on the other end, we will see also work roles in individual level changing via this development, and this all, I think, creates a quite big transformation for many levels. Technology and these possibilities are, of course, created for customers. What is interesting here to see that customer perceptions are also changing. Actually, and they are changing quite fast. Here is a picture just shared to you showing our previous profile from the shipping sector. Just one of the examples here, what we gathered together, showing what type of attitude and what type of technology absorbance the shipping companies actually have to different autonomous processes and functions. And you can see that actually 5 groups were identified there, from the very reluctant traditionalist companies operating in the field, and on the other hand, those actually that put this to the top of the agenda, and everything between, and also here attracting new entrants to the market totally. What we are seeing here is that this was done approximately 3 years ago, and already now we can see that the amount of for example, interested customers actually, and the share of those reluctant companies not interested at any level about the autonomous development is shrinking actually quite fast. In the whole, for example, in the whole shipping sector, the whole concept of let's say higher autonomy or remote control was perhaps introduced only 2013, 2014. Already now, within these 6 years, I think we have seen a lot of change of attitudes among different customers there in the market. So also this creates some kind of confidence that things are actually changing in the business side as well. In RAAS context then, what we are trying to, in very concrete level, what we are trying to actually help the companies to solve and to develop here, we have a couple of first tier objectives or focus areas here. One of them highlighted here, design and performance of autonomous supply chains. Hannu was earlier actually naming one of the major project preparations, Systeko, as being part of here. So here is one application field. We try to actually introduce new systemic autonomous applications to the supply chain area and port sector as well. The other example, digital business in general, actually, and here our vision by 25 stands that digital multi-sided market platforms would be created by the RAAS ecosystem stakeholders, matching buyers and suppliers in different domains established. And these ecosystems are then well integrated and well emerged with these digital marketplaces and ecosystems around them, as one example. Service business being also very one of the attractive and interesting field here, both for the researchers but companies as well, since the whole development brings actually new types of services to the front of the development in here. Overall, I tried to make a point on this earlier already concerning the presentation, but this is actually something that is fast emerging business. And there are a couple of reasons related to that. We have, of course, certain important, very important core technology development that actually makes it possible. For example, artificial intelligence, machine learning as such. We are now seeing more alignment of social needs also to this whole development, for example, in public transportation or urban transportation. We have more and more those stakeholders in different businesses that actually try to think systemic impacts and try to make a systemic improvements to the in different business fields and domains, and here autonomous development and system development actually can offer quite much to the business side as well. There are huge new market creation possibilities, something that hasn't actually existed before, like here mentioned, remote operation control centers, totally new market, not very developed yet, but quite many actually interested in this area to expand actually and create totally new business market globally. Overall, quite many of these business domains are still relatively in early stage, which means that there is room for actually new applications still. There is not maximum amount of competition compared to, for example, some very mature, very traditional markets. So this creates also interest among different companies actually to try to pursue their interest and their capabilities in different market segments. And also the regulatory environment is developing at least in the national scale. For example, in Finland, we have a very adjustable administrational authorities that have pushed very much by themselves forward different possibilities for experiments of shipping in national waters. But of course, when we are talking about international business and international scale, there are many big things still remaining, or most of the big things. For example, in case of shipping via International Maritime Organization, that is not in the same development level yet, but still this is also positive signal that when possible, also the regulatory environment supports this development and different kind of experiments. Yeah. So, as a summary, putting shortly the business transition and business aspects of the development, autonomous system development together. We are talking about high impact, big fundamental changes. We are talking about fast emerging autonomous business and lots of new opportunities. Technologies, although developing very fast, not yet mature, of course, but in any case, they still outpace the business development track and business readiness of autonomous systems. So there is something also for RAAS to do with the business side and business concept related to autonomous system. And finally we are seeing customer and also society acceptance developing, I think, more towards supportive mode in these aspects. And RAAS Business Task Force is as one part, and together with other task forces, not standing alone, but working actually together in the whole RAAS level, working to solve these questions and open up new business opportunities for companies, and of course making very relevant, interesting research results out of many projects as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Antti. I mean, you provide lots of information, and you'll see Antti's contact details on the next slide, so you can always get in touch with him. Antti, I'd like to pick up a couple of points, based on your presentation. One thing which I'm wondering about is, of course, in RAAS you're looking at different so-called verticals. In which do you see the resistance coming from users, let's say?
Resistance. Well, I think it's maybe more case dependent. Mm-hmm. What type of situation are we talking about, and what are we talking about? Individuals as a sort of main object of impacts, or are we talking about different let's say sectors or industries, right, on the other hand, right, or business ecosystems? So it's very hard to say that only this and this and this group. Yeah. So I would say that this is a bit case sensitive, how different organizations, different individuals are actually reflected by this. But in a general level, as I tried to say many times during the presentation, the general acceptance is getting more and more supportive, and it's becoming something that actually quite many acknowledge being part of their future business, future maybe daily lives as well.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, when we talk about autonomous system development, what types of business impacts do you see coming in general?
That of course depends. Well, if we look this from the company perspective, of course it depends on whether you are on the supplier side of technology or providing different solutions, technology to ones who actually operate different businesses, factories, etc. So on both ends, on both sides, I would say that potential impacts are huge. This is something actually from the supplier side, they have to think of coupling together different technologies and think how their whole offering actually will be renewed because of demands from the customer side. That reflects to the organization and also to the individual level of people. And on the customer side, then operating different. I think that we will see there a lot of these boundary spanning activities that different roles between the customer and the supply chains are changing actually a lot. So quite many companies, especially big companies, carefully think what actually are those in this autonomous or remote controlled businesses and world. What are those functions actually we need to take as our core, and what should be those actually taken care of by someone else?
Now, very quickly, just one last question for you here at this moment. Will there be a change in business models?
Yes, there will be. Yes, to build it shortly.
And I'm sure there's going to be research and other stuff done on what these business models will be.
Yeah.
Very good.
You asked for a short answer.
Yes, of course.
5 minutes for a bit long answer.
Yeah. Thank you so much. But let's move to the next part of our presentation. Hannu is going to continue from here, and he'll be talking about operational design. So Hannu, tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah. So next a bit about the operational design of autonomous systems. So first of all, from the operational perspective, automation definitely changes the work processes that the different work environments include. So the shift towards autonomy and what it actually means, especially from the change in the human work processes, is depicted actually shortly here. Basically, it starts typically from a manually operated work scenario or system, and there it's transformed into semi-automated, or I would say remotely operated as well is possible at that stage. Once the automation advances, it can be turned into a remotely monitored system where the operator actually intervenes only when necessary, when there's some exceptional situation. And finally, a system can be fully autonomous to a certain extent. I would say there always have to be some sort of work done by humans, for example, related to maintenance. The systems cannot run forever by themselves. But in designing all of this autonomy, we really need innovative and future-oriented operational design. And previously, we have done cases related, for example, to the remote operation of these huge container cranes. And for example, also, as Antti mentioned, to this maritime sector, how the autonomous ships are monitored from a shore control center that is located at land. So there's a lot of things that have started and they are advancing, and a lot of different domains are also now taking these different autonomy levels into use. Secondly, I would really like to highlight the safety insurance of autonomous solutions here. So firstly, the safety of these various operating modes of the system is really crucial, and the transition between the modes is something that is really important topic in the research and development of autonomous systems. So the validation, the verification of this safety is one key aspect when we are developing these. And we have this, typically this phase where we first validate the subsystems of these autonomous systems in all potential scenarios. And once all the subsystems have been validated, it is possible to move to this kind of integrated safety verification and validation, where we test the whole solution, how it works in this whole socio-technical environment where it's supposed to be working. Now, in this entire process, I would emphasize this simulation-based design and machine learning. And I argue especially that this design and machine learning teaching process could be made even automated, but in general it has to be made as fluent as possible, because that requires, in other ways, it requires a lot of effort. Okay, a simulation-based approach, as I mentioned, can be used to verify, validate, and even qualify these kind of systems through this meticulous process that can be used. So the question is that what is this process actually that gives enough safety evidence to prove that some system is actually safe? So we have our own suggestion. If you're interested, you can be in contact. But on a general level, at least what I can say is that certainly some safety authorities require the basic safety analysis documentation done, but also ultimately the manufacturer of the system is responsible. So the workers or the people who manufacture or develop these systems really should consider their responsibility when developing autonomous systems. And there are certain methods to ensure that we achieve this sufficient level of safety. For example, we have utilized simulation tools. We have a realistic simulator environment where we can build a safety case out of large amount of accidents that we can simulate as depicted over there in the picture. And so this is just an example. So if you want to more no more just be in contact. Then something called autonomous swarm robots. So the design of the operation of this kind of swarms is actually a unique challenge related to collective intelligence. We have, for example, this kind of drone swarms, we have work machine swarms, even service robot swarms in the future. And how to design that they all work together as swarm is really a big challenge. Now, related to this, we have to emphasize that the individual swarm members might not be actually that intelligent in themselves, but the whole swarm is actually where you have the capability or the intelligence which can be controlled, for example, autonomously by itself, but also typically there's remotely someone monitoring the swarm from a control center. Then, related to this swarm or this kind of fleet management, this fleet management is actually a bit more of a traditional operation and maintenance issue, but I would say it considers more about the monitoring and maintenance of these already installed machines. In autonomous systems, the importance of this proactive and predictive monitoring is actually emphasized. So, because in this, if you have a fault situation with the autonomous systems and you have nobody there to fix the fault, that's going to be a really big problem. So you have to have this kind of predictive and I would say proactive maintenance. And also in the future, I would say that robotic systems can also conduct these different kind of physical inspections or even repairs of the machine. So that's going to be a big challenge to be solved in the future as well. So if you are interested in these kind of topics, please contact me. We have about 20 researchers in this task force looking at these themes, and we can organize, for example, a roundtable session if you have some challenges related to this operational design side themes. So thank you. That's
I have some quick questions.
Okay.
I mean, so first of all, this is again a question many people are asking when it comes to autonomous systems and their operations, that are we taking away human jobs?
Yeah, that's typical question. So I would say that we are definitely changing the way that people are working in different environments. Instead of this, I would say, traditional work environments where you have these 3Ds, meaning that dirty, dull, and dangerous work tasks, the automation and the remote operations can make them much more pleasant when they are conducted safely in a nice office environment.
Of course.
Now, it depends about the design of the whole socio-technical system and the autonomous system. If there's still meaningful work tasks for the human in the system, typically I would argue, as a background, as I have background in human factors, I would argue that there's always need for human work, and it depends on how to design this human work in such a way that it's meaningful work for the operators. So I would say that we are not getting rid of people's jobs, we are only changing them and making them more safe and comfortable.
And I'd like to, poke another question at you, and that comes to safety of these autonomous systems.
Right.
Because naturally, when you do a simulation, it's only as good as the model.
Exactly. Yeah.
And no model can really replicate reality.
Right.
But tell us a bit more, about this wonderful simulation environment you were talking about.
Yeah, so we can do this kind of simulation-based verification and validation studies with the simulators. These really help to cut down the costs in the development. Instead of going directly to the field to test and then coming back to develop it, you can do fast-forward simulations to sort of give an idea of what could be the problematic situations, and then you can go back and develop those, and you don't have to build like a physical prototype.
Right.
And so we are working both on these appropriate processes and tools to provide the most suitable way for doing this kind of simulation-based verification and validation to prove that these systems are safe And ultimately, I would see that in the future we need to combine these physical and simulation-based verifications and validations. Yeah.
Thank you. But now I know that, Laura, you've been waiting for a very long time, pleasantly smiling. So please tell us a bit about situational awareness and intelligent control.
Okay, thank you. So hello, my name is Laura Ruotsalainen. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Computer Science at the University of Helsinki. And I'm also coordinating a research task force in RAAS called Situational Awareness and Intelligent Control. And today I'm going to tell you how we can help you, companies and other organizations, while you are developing the autonomous systems. So there are very strict requirements set for autonomous systems, and that of course creates a lot of challenges in developing from different viewpoints. For example, in the aspect of situational awareness, the autonomous systems have to all the time monitor their internal state. But at the same time, they have to all the time also sense, perceive, classify and model what is happening around them at this moment. And in addition to that, still, they have to be able to predict what will most likely happen in the future, what the others in the traffic are going to do, and how this will affect their operations. Then also the autonomous navigation for autonomous systems is of course very important, and that has to work reliably and accurately in all different environments and situations. And then most of the operations done by autonomous systems happen in very challenging environments where satellite navigation is not really usable or is very heavily degraded, like in urban areas and indoors. And then at the time when the autonomous operations, autonomous systems the number of them are increasing, then there always will be also someone who wants to harm the systems. So the intentional interference towards the satellite navigation will definitely increase. And then technologies preventing that and aiding the autonomous operations have to be developed. Then the decision making is most likely the most discussed aspect. So from the ethical point of view and who is responsible if something is going to happen. And at the moment, mainly the decision is made by pre-coded decisions. But the trend is that more and more artificial intelligence-based technologies will also be developed into decision making to make them adaptive and self-learning. And then also Hannu mentioned something about the operations already. So there, even that we have very fully autonomous systems, there will be some situations when the human has to take over. And then this means that the autonomous systems have to be developed in the way that the human can take over at any situation. So they have to be dynamically adjusting the level of autonomy based on the situation. So how can we then in our task force help you in the development? So our research task force consists of the main research groups and of the universities and research organizations all around Finland. And then we are considering all the verticals that have already been mentioned here. So we are addressing the land transport, machinery, drones and maritime. And then we have many different tools. I will later explain them in a bit more detail, but we have many different tools to help you to find the correct points of contact, so the correct the research groups that can help you in your needs if you know what you need. But we also have tools to tell what kind of different aspects could be looked at and how can you find help for developing those too. So for example, we are arranging different kinds of events where we present what we are doing, what different kind of research we are doing in different organizations. We are writing a white paper where we are explaining the different technologies and who is working with what. And then, for example, we have developed a roadmap for research that I will discuss today a bit more. But then in any case, you can always contact me and ask me to find the correct help for you from our research task force. So what is the status of autonomous systems at the moment? So we have looked at that from all different verticals. And for example, for road transport, at the moment, the situation is such that there are individual vehicles having the highest level of autonomy called L5. They are tested successfully in restricted areas in some restricted operations. The same thing for machinery. So at the moment, there are semi-automated or remote-controlled operations, again, in restricted areas. And then when we look at drones, there are assisted remote piloted commercial operations, and then some automated collision avoidance already created, but not very high level of autonomy yet. And in maritime, there are remote and autonomous maritime operations using typical scenarios. So something that can be seen from all the different verticals. So the autonomy is only used in very restricted areas and then quite controlled operations. So there is still quite a long way to get into the fully autonomous situation. So what is then the roadmap for the research to really approach and get into this fully autonomous status? So we have been looking at the research, what is done and what should be done in the present moment, in the very near future, and in the future a bit farther away. So when we talk about the ground systems, so vehicles and machinery, so at the moment the hottest research topics are seamless navigation capabilities for all different situations, different environments. And when we look a bit for a future, so we want to have mature autonomous operations, including all users in the traffic ecosystem. So not only concentrating on the individual vehicles, but also taking into account how the pedestrians and bicyclists and everyone is moving in the traffic ecosystem. So then when we are going closer to the fully autonomous situation, then of course we have to have the fully connected traffic ecosystem going on. And that means that this will be the main research topic in the last step of this path. So when looking at the same situation in the air, so what is the research looking at when we talk about drones? So at the present, we are then creating the systems where the drone operators, the pilots, and then the authorities can communicate and talk to each other. So something called LANC, which means low altitude authorization and notification capabilities, are now being developed together with the traffic management systems for the unmanned traffic. Then in the future, we want to then fuse the already existing air traffic management systems together with the unmanned versions. And then when we are really, again, approaching the fully autonomous drone operations, then we want to have complete real-time automatic air traffic management systems for both manned and unmanned operations working together seamlessly. And then for maritime, at the moment, the hottest topic in research is the situational awareness, of course, also path planning, autonomous navigation, and having all the traffic rules taking into account. And then this will continue, so safety, situational awareness, and then, of course, artificial intelligence being very heavily integrated also in the decision-making paths. And then in the future, after a decade, there will be research done for commercial vessels with reliable situational awareness capabilities is the hottest topic at that moment. So what are then the major development needs so that we can really get to this fully autonomous ecosystems? And what kind of expertise can we provide you from our research task force? So all these different systems, autonomous systems, so that they are able to operate and also to have the fully equipped traffic management systems going around, there will be a lot of sensors and different equipment collecting data all the time. And the volume of the data will be huge. But it is very important that all the actors in the traffic have access to that data, at least from some parts of that, so that everything is safe and goes smoothly. So this really requires many developments from the data sharing point of view. So of course the privacy has to be secured for all the users. Data security is very important aspect there also. And then enable to for everyone to be able to then get access to this data, we have to have open application programming interfaces so that everyone can access the data, and all this is seamless also. And then this requires a lot of development also from the communications and network point of view. But also, as briefly mentioned, so in order to have this really autonomous traffic ecosystem set up, we have to have really good traffic infrastructure there also. So for example, 5G is required for being able to then also transmit this information very fast to all the actors there. And in order to be able to monitor this traffic infrastructure and ensure that everything is working correctly, we have to have digital twins of these environments so that everything goes smoothly. Then also, as said, the autonomous navigation is quite challenging in many environments and situations. So we have to also do a lot of research on sensor fusion using different kinds of technologies for assuring the navigation everywhere at every time, and also the satellite navigation expertise is required. Then, as mentioned previously, artificial intelligence is something that will affect almost all the different parts required for autonomous systems, and this is something that we also can help you a lot with. Human-machine interface was also mentioned, and we have research groups also doing a lot of research on this. And of course, accurate digital maps that are updated all the time are also very essential for autonomous traffic ecosystems. So how can we then really help you all the companies and other organizations in the innovation processes? So as Hannu already mentioned, we have roundtable discussions with everyone who thinks that we can help. We do collaboration in different projects. And then we arrange different kinds of events. I have named here a few of the nearest coming ones. So for example, in March, we will have in Oulu Arctic Robot Challenge, where we welcome you all to attend. In April, we will have a strong presence in the TRA 2020 conference. We will have a side event there. And then there we will also be distributing our white paper that we are now writing at the moment. Then in May, we will have in Tampere a workshop for discussing the future collaboration with all the different actors working with autonomous systems in Finland. And then, as mentioned a few times, so we are writing at the moment white paper that should give some more information about the technologies related to situational awareness and autonomous navigation. And that will also have some descriptions of all the research groups taking part in the task force. So that is a very good place to find whom to turn to when have some specific needs. And also already mentioned, so we are also now collecting the test beds and test sites that are open for everyone to go and collaborate with. And we are collecting this information into the RAAS web portal, so that is accessible for everyone. So places where we can go and do some testing and collaboration. And then some good examples are, for example, the Northern Finland Aurora and ITS factory. So that was actually all I was going to say today, but please contact me whenever you find something that interests you and you would like to find the correct research groups helping you with your needs in the future.
Thank you very much, Tauro. This was very interesting and inspiring. And, you know, of course, one thing I'm sure many people will come up with, and I have even this question that as a company, you know, if I have some specific challenge or something or a problem, who do I contact? Where do I go to? And can RAAS actually help me solve that problem?
Yeah, well, I would say that we have so many research groups from so different organizations that definitely we can find someone who can help. And at least I'm an easy contact point, so my information is here. You can contact me and ask to who is the correct person, and I can help you find them. And also, as said, so we have all these different tools, so white papers and the events where you can just come and listen what we are doing, and maybe that even gets you some new good ideas where you could go and direct your business.
I have another question. I mean, you were talking about the state of play, for all of these so-called verticals.
Yeah.
And of course, we will have lots of stuff happening, but what happens in terms of situational awareness when these verticals, they combine? So just to give you an example, you have the autonomous cars, you have the buses, you have the trains, and then suddenly you have the drones also.
Yeah.
So, is there some thought or discussions on the interplay between these different systems?
Well, I think, for example, the MaaS, the mobility as a service, is on a small extent already now approaching this. So, of course, it would be most beneficial if all these could work together, so people could plan their travels from point A to point B and use all these different verticals for that transportation.
I mean, I'm not looking at it only, from a transport perspective, but, if the drones are operating under one logic and the vehicles under a different logic. So the vehicles, okay, you need to be aware of obstacles, you need to be aware of pedestrians.
Yeah.
But, the drones, do you get the idea? I mean, the interplay or the interface, how can we ensure safety across all of these? Because in the long run, they'll all be part of, business as usual.
Well, I would say that the probably the most challenging part here is the data sharing. So we have to have the data shared to everyone who really needs this information.
Right.
And this will have many different aspects, of course, because also the data is very valuable to the ones who collect it. So how can we create this system that everyone is willing to give that to everyone in the traffic ecosystem?
One last question, before we continue, when we talk about situational awareness and autonomous navigation, what are the main challenges, towards developing a fully autonomous system?
I would again say kind of like the having all the different actors in the same system. So it is already quite, I wouldn't say easy, but very approachable to develop the individual autonomous systems to work alone. Mm-hmm. But then when we have to have everyone discussing together and
Sure.
sharing the information, that's probably the most challenging part.
And last but not least, Hannu, let me hand it back to you for a quick wrap up and summary.
So shortly, what we have discussed here is that we have gone through the different aspects of RAAS. We have the different research teams that are involved. We saw that you can be in contact with different persons if you have questions or comments about this. And basically, we aim to provide help for the companies and other organizations to their innovation activities related to autonomous systems research and development. So I would say that if you are interested, be in contact with us, and we will continue from there.
And I mean, the contact information of our colleagues is here, so please do get in touch with them if you need any more information. I'm sure there's loads and loads of information. And of course, by asking them, you'll find out more. But before we conclude, same question to all of you. So Hannu, let's start with you. 10 years from today, where do you see autonomous systems?
Well, I definitely see that they are becoming a crucial part of the society in, for example, in transport sector, but also in different kind of work environments. And what needs to be done is to ensure the safety on a sufficient level, and also take into account also the human factor. Even though we are talking about autonomous systems, I would say that you still have the human element always there. So that has to be taken into consideration, and in the design of those systems also to sufficient extent, so that the systems will be useful, they will be even enjoyable and safe for the users.
Antti, 10 years from now?
I think they are more and more part of our daily life. Individually, we do not perhaps always recognize that thing because it's somewhere there behind its technology. It's something that we all only look from the iPad or our communication equipment, but in any case, it's our daily lives are more and more supported by these systems. Business-wise, I think 10 years from now, we have actually quite many new ecosystems that are fueled by autonomous systems, meaning quite many changes to some of the current actors and bringing lots of new companies, new entrants to the business in different sectors.
And last but not least, you, Laura. I mean, you being the professor, I left you for the end to share your ultimate wisdom 10 years from now.
Yeah, well, my dream is that when we really have the fully autonomous traffic ecosystem, which means that also that it will bring a lot of benefits from the sustainability point of view. So there will be much less greenhouse gas emissions. So there will be much more green spaces for people to hang around and have fun. And then there will be also kind of like the traffic will be very equal. So also people who have very difficult access to transportation means at the moment, they will have the autonomous vehicle transporting them easily everywhere. And also the people who are usually using the private cars can use that time for doing something fun, for reading books or something else.
Yeah, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for participating in this webinar with us. I'm pleased to get in touch with Laura, Antti, or Hannu. For more information, go to autonomous.fi to dig into more details. And just to let you know, this presentation material will be available for you. So please do go through it and do go to the website and ask questions, because there was just so much more information than was possible to present. And if there is anything you'd like to hear in a potential future webinar on RAAS, anything in particular, do let us know. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.